Hey guys, it's JDawgtor. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can make a naturally generating structure in your Minecraft world. This is using the new updated version of my structure generator data pack that now works for 1.16 and 1.16.2. In this video I'll be showing you how you can set up a structure, and I'm going to be showing you a brand new website that will let you take your build, the file that you generate with structure blocks, and it will just generate the code for you. This new update will let you spawn structures underwater, they can spawn in water, they spawn better in the nether and the end, and you can even generate your structures in your own custom dimensions or your custom biomes. So there's a lot to show you here, so let's get started. Alright, so let's build our structure. So step one is going to be make a build. So here's a time lapse of me building a cool windmill as an example. So the first thing you'll notice is I am making a really tall foundation for the structure. This is going to be sunk into the ground a little bit, and this is going to help for when it's spawned in uneven terrain or on the side of a hill or something. It will have a bit of extra ground space to look like it's more inside the ground instead of it just kind of sitting on the side of a hill. And then the other thing is I made sure to keep this structure under the limit of a structure block, which is 48 blocks in all directions. So you just want to do that because that's the maximum size that structure blocks currently have. Yeah, so that's the first step. Once you're happy with your build and you're ready to turn it into a structure, the next step is to save it using structure blocks. If you don't know how structure blocks work, there's a link in the description on a more in detailed video, and so if you need to know how those work, watch that and then come back. But if you know how they work, all we got to do is give ourselves a structure block, and we're going to select the bounding box area of this build. So we're going to try to find, like, right about here is the furthest it goes here. So we're going to use a corner block, and we're going to name our structure. I'm going to call it windmill. And we're going to hit done, and it should be in the farthest corner, like just outside of the entire build. And let's do this corner up here, because this is the furthest corner away from the one we just placed. Let's see, that's probably good right there. So we can try to get the whole build selected. I'm gonna place this here, and we're gonna name it the same thing because it's the same selection. We're gonna hit done, and I think I got the whole structure, but we're gonna use a save structure block to detect it and make sure we have the whole thing selected. So let's place down a save structure block, and we're going to type windmill is the name of our structure, and we're going to hit the detect button. And you can see it has selected our whole build. So let's make sure that there's nothing going outside of it, which I did miss it a little bit. So we're going to want to, if you hit Control and middle click this, it will copy the same data that was in it, instead of needing to type it all out again. So we have one block poking out there, so it needs to come a block out that way. So then we can hit detect again, and we have our whole build selected. Okay, so now it's time to move on to the next step now that we have selected our whole structure. So we currently have a problem. If we come in here, I'll show you what the problem is. So we go into our save structure block, and we're going to check the show invisible blocks button, and we're going to turn it on. You can see it is now showing a bunch of little blue boxes, and this is showing us where the air blocks are. Now structure blocks will actually save air blocks along with it, which isn't what we want. We want it to, once this structure spawns in our world, we don't want this entire box area to delete everything around it once it's placed in a world. That's why we use structure voids. We're going to go /give @s structure void, and if we come over here and place it inside the box, you'll see that these are red. Red is actually what we want on the outside. What it's going to do is wherever there's red, it's going to keep whatever land was there before this structure got placed. So it'll just look a lot more natural and fit in with the environment a little bit better. But we don't want the inside to be red, because if this spawns in a forest, the inside of our windmill here is going to end up with a tree in the inside, which we don't want. So we're going to want this whole outside here to be structure voids. So here's a quick way to do it. You can go to one of the farthest corners. So you're going to come to one of the corners. We're going to go /fill, and then we can, it will try to autocomplete the coordinates. So we can push tab and then space tab, and it'll get those coordinates. I'm going to hit enter to do that. It's going to give me an error because I got to come over here to this next corner. We are going to look at this block and then go up to get to our next command. Then we're going to again tab the coordinates, and I'm going to break these blocks, and then we can do fill that with structure void, and if we just type that, it would delete our whole structure and have an entire box of structure voids. So we're going to actually put in replace air, and there we go. We have the entire box here filled with structure voids. But then the inside also has structure voids, so we're going to want to fill in an area of air. So we're going to go to this corner, because structure voids actually have a hitbox. You can look at them and get their coordinates, but air doesn't. So we'll look at this, and then we'll go fill with air, replace structure void. And we have most of it. Some areas you might have to do by hand, like this area you could fill it, but it's just a lot quicker to just break it all here. That area up there we can fill too. Okay, so the inside of our build is all air, and we're ready to move on to the next step. Alright, so once your build is all red on the outside and all blue on the inside, we can come over to our save structure block and we can save this. Before we do, if you have any mobs or just any entities on the inside of your build that you want to be included, like a special boss mob or something in a dungeon, you want to check include entities and turn it on. So that way it will actually copy your entities too. But if you don't care, you can leave that off. I'm just going to turn it on for now. And then you just hit the big save button right here, and you'll get a message that says our structure has been saved. And I'm going to show you the file that it created that we're going to need. So if you come into the menu and go into options and then resource packs, and then we're going to go into open resource pack folder. Now it has opened up the resource packs folder, which is for putting in resource packs. But if we go back one folder to where it says Minecraft, there is a saves folder right here. In here is where all of our builds are. The one we're going to go into is my building world, and just whatever your world is that has the build. You're going to then go inside and you'll see a folder that says generated. You're going to go into there, and then Minecraft, and then structures. And there is our windmill.nbt. This is what we're going to use with the website that I'm going to show you in a little bit to actually generate our structure. But there's one more thing we need to get before we actually do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to place down a load structure block, and we're going to put in windmill. This is actually what the system is going to do to actually place our structures in the world. It just does it automatically. Now I hit load there just now the first time. You don't want to hit it again because otherwise it'll actually place our structure. But you can see that the structure block is right here, so our build is going to be placed one block up from the ground, which is not what we want. We want to prepare the position of our structure before we actually put it in. So if we go in here, we have these 3 boxes right here for relative position. This is the offset where our structure is going to be placed relative to the structure block. So you can see it's actually 1 block above the structure block. So we'll go into Y because that one's the easiest to understand. So if we put in 0 and then go done, you'll see now it's going to be right on the ground. But then remember, we made our structure a little bit taller so it can sink into the ground, so we want it to be placed a little bit lower. So if we imagine where we want the ground, I'm going to place the ground about right here. We want the ground to be right here, and we want our structure block to be at this level. So if this is 0 right here, then this is going to be -1, -2, -3, -4. So we want it to be -4 blocks down from the structure block. So if we come back to our load structure block, we are going to put -4 in the middle one because it's X, Y, Z, and Y is up and down. So if we hit done, you'll see the bottom has disappeared, but if we clip into the ground right here, you can see it is now inside the ground, which is what we want because our tall foundation is there. The other thing we want to do is make sure our structure block is actually centered around our bounding box here. The easiest way you can do that is come back over to our save structure block, and you can see the structure size right here. If we want to place it in the middle, the easiest thing we can do is just split this number in half and make that the minus number. So half of 16 is 8. So we can go -8 is going to be the offset. And then this one's 25. Half of, well, you can't really split 25 in this instance, but we could go 24 and split that, and that's 12. So then -12 would be that number. So the offset is going to be -8 and then -12. And if we hit done, you'll see it's now centered. It doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, but just good enough that it makes the structure placement look a lot better. So if you wanted to, you could, I'm going to copy this load block, you could push load again and check if you like the placement. I got put inside. If you think it's 1 block too high or 1 block too low, you can adjust that. You don't have to place it if you don't want, but that is all we need. So we don't actually need to place this. We just want to know these numbers, the relative position. So X is -8, Y is -4, and Z is -12. That's what we want to remember. Now, the next step is going to be to jump over to the website and generate our structure. Alright, so this is the website that you're going to use to generate your structures. It's in the description if you want to use it. And you can see we have what Minecraft version we're using, so you can pick 1.16.2 or 1.16 to 1.16.1. So we're going to go 1.16.2 because that's what we're using. And then over here we have a download link to the Datapack. This is the structures that you saw in the beginning that was created by 16-Bit Map. He used my generator to actually make a cool pack, and I asked him if he wanted this to be downloadable for all of you to use it, and so you can click this if you want to use those. But we're going to create our own structures for now. So you can see you can either click this or drag your files in. So if we come back to the windmill.nbt that we found, this is the file that we're going to drop down into the website. So we're going to drag it over here, and you can see we get more options. You can put in as many structures as you want all at the same time. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever. So we have our windmill.nbt options. So we can pick where the structure should be generated. So it's how's it going to generate. So if we pick surface, it'll be spawning like on the ground, like in plains or forest, just on solid ground. In caves actually isn't like in caves. It's like for if you have a world in the nether, it'll generate like, because it's all uneven and stuff. This is for like if you have like a custom dimension that spawns like the nether, or you just want it to spawn in the nether. That's what this option's for. And then there's floating islands. This is for like the end or a floating island dimension. Underwater will spawn the structure underwater. In water will spawn it like as a boat. And then lava and under lava is the same. And then Y range is a cool one for if you wanted floating islands. If we click this one, we have a Y range min and a Y range max. This is the coordinate Y level for where your structure will spawn. So if you wanted it to spawn the sky, you could have Y level 100, and you could put 100 in both of these. Or you could go at random heights, like 200 or 230 or whatever. But you want the minimum to be a smaller number than the max, and it'll spawn at any Y level between these two numbers. So that's a cool one to pick if you wanted like floating islands or something like that. But I want to spawn my windmill on the surface, so we're just going to pick this one. Next we have rotation. This is, do you want your structure to kind of be facing in random directions? If you don't pick anything, it's just going to say yes. You could say no if like you wanted it to always be pointing west or something. You can pick whatever. I'm not going to mess with it. You can click yes. But if you just don't click anything, it's just going to pick yes for you. And then rarity, right now we don't need to worry about this because this is just one structure. But if you have a whole bunch of structures, you can increase or decrease this if you want this to spawn less often than the other structures you have. Like if we added another file, it would give you more options. But this is for like you have like 5 structures and you want this one to spawn way more than the rest of them. You can tweak this and get better results with your structures. It's just a nice way to mess with it. And then we have structure block position. This is where we put in the numbers that we just saved with our load structure block. So it was -8, and then -4, and then -12. And there we go. And then if you wanted to, we can also pick what dimension it spawns in. Now, if you have structures that spawn in the nether and the end and the overworld or whatever, you have dimensions, you have structures that go across multiple dimensions, you want to pick overworld, because if you just don't say anything, then they'll spawn in other dimensions too. So you want to pick overworld. And then you can also pick the biome you want. It has a whole list of all the biomes that are already there, or you could hit custom and you can put in your own biome. I'm just gonna hit this because then it'll just spawn wherever I want it to. And you can also pick a custom dimension if you wanted to also. So that's all the settings I'm gonna use for this structure. So you can pick the dimension, the biome, you need to put in your position and your method of spawning, and that's all you gotta do. And then you just hit this button right here that says generate, and once it loads, we get our download links. So we have the structure generator, which is a .zip that is another data pack that actually makes the system run, but then we also have our structure pack that we just generated. So you're going to need both of these. So you just click this and it will download it for you. And then it will also pick whatever version that you had up here, which you also notice that once you pick the version after you drop in your structures, it won't let you pick a different one. So you need to pick that first. But it will know what version you picked and use the version of the generator, and then you're also going to download your pack that you just made. And you can, if you wanted to, like you don't like how this is positioned, you could change numbers and then hit regenerate if you wanted to. And another really cool thing we have is once you have generated your structure, you can also click this link, which is the same as this, but then you can also like bookmark this. So if you want to download it again, you can always keep it. Yeah, and then you can reset it if you wanted to do that too. But that's the website. You can download structures that you've created or a pre-made one here, and then you can put in as many structures as you want with as many options as you want. Now I'm going to show you how you can actually put this in your world. So the first way you can get it in is if you are just creating a brand new world. You're going to want to make sure you have cheats on, but then you can hit this Datapacks button and then just drag in those files that you generated from your downloads. Once you drag them in, it will ask you if you want it, And you can see these are this is the generator that you downloaded that actually needs to be in your world for the system to run. And then this is the pack that we just created with our structure. So we're going to want both of these to be in our world, and then you hit done. And then you can just create your world with whatever other settings you want and then move on to the next step. But if you have a world already and you want to download this data pack into an already existing world, I'll show you how to do that real quick. If you want to install these data packs into a world that already exists, you're going to again go to your saves folder in .minecraft. You're going to go into your world folder and you'll see one that says data packs. You're going to go into that folder and drop those same zip files in there. And then when you go back into the game, you're going to want to type /reload. That's how you do it if you already have a world. Okay, so once you're ready to spawn your structures, you're going to want to type /function, and then you'll see a bunch of stuff show up. So the first thing we'll look at is generator settings. You can click that, and we have a couple more options for how our structures can spawn. So we can change the clock speed. It's just how fast the data pack runs. You might want it to be a little slower if you're running like on a server with a bunch of people and it really can't handle the machine. You can slow it down to make it better for performance. It is normal by default, but you can make it super fast if you wanted to, but that's just for performance. And then density is how often the structures spawn, which we did do the rarity part in the website, but this is like overall like how much structures show up. So like if you picked rare, it'll just kind of show up kind of as often as regular Minecraft structures, like really not super often. Common is like if you fly around quite a bit, you'll spot one eventually, and then abundant is like you'll see them everywhere. So I'm just going to click abundant so that we can find it in our world. But you can pick whichever one you want, and when you're ready to spawn your structures, you just type /function generator generate, and you'll hear a little ding. And now if you explore a little bit, you should find the windmill that we created. I'm gonna look around, see, oh, this one's spawning right here. Oh, there's one right here too. Yeah, so we set it to abundant, so it's spawning a lot. So I'm gonna just set it back to, I'm gonna set it to rare for now. If you had like a lot of structures, it would like evenly pick which ones are which. So if we fly around, we'll find a couple more. 3 of them spawn in a row just because there's only one structure in this data pack. But yeah, so I set it to rare for now, and now we'll be able to find one a little bit better. Hey, check it out, we have a windmill on top of the hill here. Now, you can see why we want this foundation. It spawned really on the edge there, so it doesn't look great, but if it was like more on just like a flat ground, you can see like it would just give it a little bit more of a ground to stand on. You can see it's like inside here, so like if the ground ended here, it would look a little bit better. You could go overboard and make it extremely tall if you wanted, but there's no reason to do that, so it looks a little weird here. You could even, if you wanted to, like build a little bit of land that will be replaced and just kind of blend it in if you wanted. But yeah, that is how the structure generator works. Oh, here's another windmill right here. Let's see if this one looks better. Yeah, here we go. This one looks a little bit better. Okay, maybe not. Yeah, this might not be a good biome for them to spawn in, so like you might want to tell the system only spawn in the plains or the forest or something. Well, let's see if we can find one in the forest. This might look better. Here's one that spawned nice into this hill here. So you can see this is why we want structure voids, because now it like blends in with the land a lot nicer. So it just gives it a little bit more of a natural feel. But then we can come in, whatever. But yeah, so that is how you can create your own structures using this data pack. And then you can always come back to the website and decide you want it to only spawn in a certain biome, or just change settings if you're not happy with how they're spawning. Like I want it to spawn in the plains, maybe turn down the rarity a little bit more, and then just regenerate, and it will create a new one for you, and you can just drop this new one into your world. So that's how you generate your structures using this data pack. I do know that now they've added in 1.16 basically the ability to create your own structures. I haven't gotten into seeing how those work quite yet, but if I find that it's a better way than my generator, I'll probably make a video on that. But for now, that's how you can use this data pack to make your own structures. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!